the saying, never meet your heroes? Well, this is my number one hero, the BMW E46 M3 CSL. What does CSL stand for? Coupe, sports, but most importantly, lightweight. It's hard to believe that this car is 17 years old now. It was born in 2003. To put that into some kind of perspective, that was the year that iTunes was also launched. And I'm sure it's as old as many of you guys and girls watching. It was based on the already brilliant E46 M3, but as the name suggests, it's been lightened. And in fact, there is a bit more power under the bonnet too, but we'll talk about that in a second. How much has it been lightened? Well, 110 kilos. That's more than me at Christmas time. How did BMW manage to save that much weight from a car that wasn't necessarily overweight already? I just don't know, but they did, and that's what makes this so special. BMW made 1,400 of these back in 2003, and 420 of those made it to UK shores. And in fact, this particular model was never available in North America. I don't know why, but it wasn't, so they only got the regular E46 M3. What makes the CSL so special over the regular M3? Well, let's start at the front. So it uses the S54 straight six 3.2 litre that sounded incredible on the normal car, but on this one it has a massive carbon intake that produces the best induction sound you've ever heard, whether you're in the car or walking down the street. It produces an extra 17 brake horsepower and a couple of extra torques in the CSL, which doesn't sound like much, but when you couple that with the 110 kilo weight saving, this car actually has a power to weight ratio 40 brake horsepower up on the regular M3, which is a massive amount. And in fact, that's what you feel the minute you turn the key and drive it down the road. Other standout features on the exterior of the car are the now trademark 19-inch lightweight CSL wheels. They used to be clad with the original Michelin Cup tyres, but this being a BMW UK press car, it now has up-to-date PS4S tyres on it, which I'm kind of glad about because it could rain today and the original Cups were okay in the dry and hot conditions, but anything else they just wanted to kill you. So I think that's a really nice upgrade, and actually this car probably drives much better than it originally did, just down to the fact that the rubber is so much more improved. As we walk down the side of the car, well, they only came in silver and black, and I believe the black cars were far more rare than the silvers, and I've certainly seen a few silvers and only ever one black in my lifetime. One of the big standout weight saving features on this particular car is the carbon fibre roof. We all know nowadays that the F80 M3s and M4s, they all come with carbon fibre roofs, and it's kind of becoming a bit of a common M theme, if you like, but back then it was groundbreaking, and this was the first M car to wear a carbon fibre roof. And although it only saved 7 kilos of weight, it's 7 kilos of the most important weight because it's right at the top of the car, which effectively reduces the centre of gravity massively. As you get around the back of the car, you've also got lightweight rear windows. You've got a lightweight boot lid that doesn't even have a handle on it. You have to operate it with the key. It also has this lovely lip spoiler, which again is a bit of a trademark CSL spot if you see one on the road. And something else around the front is this little hole down here just above that lovely carbon fibre splitter. That hole feeds the massive airbox, which we're going to hear lots of when we take it out on the road. As you jump inside, you'll notice immediately that the standard M3 seats have been ripped out and replaced with some lovely bucket Recaro seats, which are so comfortable and so supportive, and in fact are probably some of the best seats I've ever sat in. These are almost 20 years old. How is that possible? I don't know, but they're fantastic. It feels really special. Then the door cards have been removed. There's carbon fibre there. The centre console is also carbon fibre. You've got a little plaque down there telling you which number of CSL it is. And the rest of the interior is fairly standard E46, which isn't a bad thing because I think they are one of the nicest and most simplified interiors ever. I could honestly sit here and talk about this car for hours, but I've only got it for a few hours and I need to take it out for a drive. I want to share the experience with you guys because honestly, it's just unbelievable. So let's jump inside, take it out for a drive and yeah, enjoy it. Key, an actual key. The first button you press in the CSL, which I'm confused about, shouldn't even be there as far as I'm concerned, is the sport button because it seems to give you more power and more noise. So let's press that. Second button is the one on the steering wheel, which reduces some of the traction control, because now this has got Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's on it, it definitely doesn't need any form of traction control, or at least you want it reduced. This is a very expensive and very low mileage M3 CSL, so I don't want to put it into a field. Driving position is spot on, really nice. Again, I'm 6'4", maybe I'm sitting a little bit high, but no higher than I am in any kind of modern sports car. And in fact, it feels very similar to my M2 competition, but if anything, a bit nicer just because of these seats. I just feel like I'm in a real piece of kit, and that's before we start driving it. SMG box, well, we'll talk more about the SMG box once we get going, but I guess the only slightly insulting thing about this interior is that horrible SMG gear knob, but the gearbox itself is actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be. It kind of suits the car, but let's put it into gear. And let's turn the ferocity right up, because I wouldn't see why you would have it any slower than in its fastest setting, because it's not particularly fast. And let's take the handbrake off. I've still got a handbrake in my M2 comp, so as it rolls back slightly, the steering straight away, you can just feel the beautiful hydraulic steering rack. Oh. Start stop? Well, of course there's no start stop, no. Let's just pull out and let's just take it very easy. I'm going to leave it in manual the whole drive because that's how I drive it. We're in a 30 zone anyway, so you can already hear bits and pieces, but trust me, you've heard nothing yet. Absolutely nothing as we roll through this little village. Right, we've left the village. Let's give you some sound. Are you ready for this? I'm not sure you are, but here we go. Listen to it. Oh. Now you know what we're dealing with. Oh. All the way up to 7,900 RPM. I mean, you have to excuse the rattles that are in the cabin. There's not too many of them, but you're probably going to pick a few up on the mic. You got to remember this car's almost 20 years old, and actually when I drove down here on the motorway for about 10 miles, there wasn't much sound in the interior. There wasn't much tyre roar, and I know these are modern tyres, but there wasn't much wind noise. It was really civilized in here. In 6th gear at the speed limit, it was under 3,000 RPM, so much better and more civilized than, in fact, my M2 competition, which I was not expecting at all. I thought it would be a little bit difficult to live with on, say, long journeys. Much more of an outright sports car than a GT car, but you could easily drive this down to the Alps without any issues and real comfort. It's lovely. These seats, they might not look the most comfortable, but they're just amazing. So supportive and so comfortable. That's mostly induction sound. Oh, it's so glorious, this car. It's just amazing. It's alive. It's just... And that's before you open the window. When you open the window, I mean, it's just another level. It's like, listen to this. We'll do a first gear pull. So good. Absolutely love it. All right, let's slow the pace down a little bit and actually talk about the CSL rather than just getting so carried away, because it's just so easily done in this car, believe me. We've already talked about the weight saving measures in the interior of this car, and in fact, if you ordered it stock, it came without air conditioning and without a sound system, but you could option them in, and this particular car has got them, so probably adds a few kilos to the quoted weight, but otherwise it's very stripped out in here. But everything is here that I need. You know, jumping out of my 7 Series that I actually drove to BMW UK in this morning, I jump in this and I'm not left wanting anything. I've got my phone mount up there with my sat-nav running, and everything else is here. I haven't listened to the sound system. Why would I, when I've got that S54 with that insane intake on it? I just wouldn't. Maybe if I live with this car, I would eventually start listening to the stereo, but everything is as I want it. As I've talked about, the driving position is spot on. The steering wheel, the Alcantara, well, it's feeling a little bit sorry for itself. It does need redoing, and in fact I know a lot of owners do end up wrapping the wheel in leather just because leather does last longer, but I kind of like Alcantara, so I'll just get that retrimmed. The dials and everything are just glorious. I love it. It's analog dials, the sort of signature grey M colour, and we've got the rev counter that goes all the way up to, well, just under 8,000. I believe it's 7,900 RPM. And as you get up to that rev limit, the lights start flashing, and again, that's something that I remember seeing when I was younger in M cars, and I wish it's something that still continued. I don't know why it isn't. It wouldn't be particularly hard, especially with digital dashes and stuff these days. Such a cool little feature, but everything else is as I need it. I've got a trip computer here. The paddles are quite nice, but they are quite far around the back of the wheel. They're not the most accessible, and I think if you're really pushing on a tractor or something, you would probably reach down and touch this awkward looking phallic small knob, but everything else is just, I mean, I haven't stopped smiling since I got the keys for this morning. I have not stopped grinning. I really, oh, tunnel. What is the SMG box like? Well, yes, it's slow by today's standards, but if you kind of treat it like a robotic manual, which it basically is, then it's not too bad. So third, come off the accelerator into fourth, and it's just like shifting gears. So again, down gears it's a bit quicker, off the accelerator into fourth. I mean, it's fun, it's mechanical, and yet it is effectively still automatically doing your gears, but only when you ask for it with one of these paddles. And when you're really pushing, it kind of works really well. It's only at slower speeds where it is a bit jerky, but again, you can work around that. Now, I know there's been a few people out there that have converted their CSLs into full-on manuals, and I'm sure they're incredible. And you know, some people say, oh, that's not right because it was never made with a manual, but I don't see any issues with that whatsoever. But the DSG, I mean, yeah, I'm liking it a lot more than I thought I would. I honestly thought I'd find it quite offensive and quite annoying in such a fantastic car, but I think it's almost part of the charm of this car. Let's talk about the ride. I was actually quite shocked about the ride, a bit like when I drove that 1M about a year ago. I was quite blown away by how good that felt, and again with this one, the ride is really good. Like, the road surfaces around here are shocking, but yet it stays very composed. It doesn't skit about mid-corner, and it doesn't roll around like you'd expect a nigh on 20-year-old car to do. It stays very flat. I mean, this on circuit would just be amazing. It just feels so direct. The hydraulic steering rack is just lovely, so direct. It's so much feel through the wheel, it's unbelievable, especially by modern standards. Oh, what a machine. The steering rack in this is actually faster than the one in the regular E46 M3, but it still feels a bit slower than the one in my M2 competition, but close to perfect. It's got a really good turning circle on it as well, like very similar to a standard E46 by the feels of it. Oh, what a car. Just to put into some kind of perspective of how fast this car still is by today's standards, it actually set a 7-minute 50 lap time around the Nürburgring, which was 32 seconds quicker than a regular E46 M3. 32 seconds quicker. I mean, that's just, it's crazy. And in fact, it's only a handful of seconds slower than an M2 competition. I mean, it's mind-blowing. So when I sit in here and I think this car is as quick and capable as my M2 competition, it really is. It's not just the fact that it's stripped out and I can hear more sound and everything else and all the drama. It actually is as capable as it feels. It's just an incredible, incredible bit of kit. The best M car I've ever driven. I think it might be. Is it the best car I've ever driven? It's very close to the GT4. To think that this is more than 10 years older than a GT4 981. This is just groundbreaking, this car. This is exactly what I want in a driver's car or in a car. It's just, it's sexual. It really is. I just love it. I absolutely love it. If I had one of these, it'd be like having a really, really good bottle of champagne, like a bottle of Cristal or something, that you knew you had and you would only savour for that really special occasion. This, you'd wake up on a Sunday morning and, oh wow, would you get up early. In fact, I really did not sleep much last night because I was so excited about this car. But I didn't realise just how good it was going to be. So bravo BMW. Wow, you certainly knew what you're doing back in 2003. What a car. What a car. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Sorry it's been a little bit rushed. I'll hopefully bring you more content on the fantastic E46 M3 CSL later this year. But until then, and until the next video, I'll just give you one more acceleration, because why not?